Welcome into Teal, the show. Jaguars shaking it up for the offseason. Not the ending to the year that anybody expected, but we'll try and put a bow on everything and see make sense of some of the Jaguars shakeups. Welcome here to the Community First Igloo. This is going to be our last one of these for the year. Kind of a sad moment.
Yeah, that whatever he's shaking up, we all need like 10 of those after today.
I know a lot of Jaguars fans hit Broadway in Nashville to kind of get a few of those and wash away the pain.
Yeah, just looking at the internet and seeing it all over the place, it's just a lot of upset fans right now.
Yeah,
as should be.
And there's good reason for that. Look, the Jaguars did not have the wrap-up to the season that anyone was expecting. They fast-forwarded to an 8-3 start, and then they fell apart in December. And one of the most heartbreaking things, in the locker room all week, all season long, and the guys kept saying, we want to play our best football in December. We got to play our best football in December. And then December rolled around, and they played their worst football of the year.
Yeah, and we've said it so many times. They always say it's not how you start, it's how you finish. They finished the complete opposite of what they wanted to do. And it's been the same issues all season that the Jaguars could not fix, and that is the reason why they were not playing in the playoffs.
Yeah, no postseason trip for this team, but they did win 9 games, so back-to-back winning seasons is maybe a silver lining of sorts. I know a lot of fans don't really want to hear that, but when you have those sorts of late-season struggles, change comes. And being an NFL coach is a tough job, but the defensive coordinator, and he took the brunt of the fall in this one. Most of the defensive coaching staff for the Jaguars is gone. A couple of offensive guys also gone. NFL's a tough business, Aaron.
I've been through it. I've been on both sides of it, seeing guys go. I was one of the guys that got released one time. That's just part of the business. It is a business. And, it happens to be that, he's such a great guy, Mike is. He'll be right back coaching, learn from this, and just continue to grow. That's all you can do. But I feel like, it may be that time because our defense kind of was inconsistent this year.
Yeah, so the Jaguars are going to get a fresh start on the defense, and they're kind of starting that search. So today the Jaguars, or at least according to a report, the Jaguars requested to talk with former Panthers defensive coordinator Ejiro Evero, but the Panthers technically still own his rights, and it would be a lateral move, so that request was denied. So the Jaguars are still searching for those first candidates to interview for their open position. So I kind of put together a short list. I'm going to want to get both of y'all's thoughts on this. Here are the 4 candidates that I think would fit for the Jaguars' needs. Leslie Frazier, he's been a head coach. He was the defensive coordinator for the Bills, stepped away from football for a year. He's hoping to get a head coaching job, but I think he'd be a great fit. There's Evero on the list. Ryan Nielsen was on that Falcons staff as a defensive coordinator, but of course, Arthur Smith has moved on, so he did a good job in there in Atlanta with the defense. And then Patrick Graham was with the Raiders as the defensive coordinator. His only year with the Raiders. He was actually with the Giants before that. The Giants probably would love him back since they got a defensive coordinator opening. But those are the 4 people I put on my short list. Aaron, if you were looking for a defensive coordinator, what would you want in the next defensive coordinator for the Jags?
Out of these 4 guys?
Sure, or anybody.
Personally, I would love to see Leslie Frazier here. Because of the experience, from the fact that, he's been there, coached every level of this game, head coach, so he would actually be a head coach that could just run the defense. So I feel like someone like that would be a perfect fit for us.
I think a lot of people are thinking a veteran defensive coordinator is what Doug Peterson is going to hire, and exactly for what you just said. I think what Doug may do is say, hey, listen, you be the defensive coordinator, you take control of the defense, and just tell me what's going on. And with the experience that Leslie Frazier has, he can fill that role, and hopefully that defense can progress next season.
Yeah, I think Frazier's probably at the top of the list of wants, but I know he wants a head coaching job. We'll see if that comes together for him, or maybe if he lands here in Jacksonville. Doug did try and hand over the reins to that defense to Mike Caldwell. This was his first job. Mike was a great guy here, but no longer the Jaguars defensive coordinator. We'll see what he does next. We still got plenty more Teal the show. Coming up after this, we're going to hear from a local influencer. Jana caught up with Emily Caro about some of the looks that she wore this football season. That's straight ahead when Teal the show returns. Oh, there's Jana. Welcome back here into Teal the show. Jana Angel took a trip over to TIA Bankfield this week. She caught up with local influencer and fashion model Emily Caro. We'll talk the field while we let them talk a little bit about fashion.
Emily Caro has been making a fashion splash in the 904 since she stepped into the Everbank Stadium stands for the first time in 2022. As a model for some of the top agencies in the world, Emily is no stranger to style. But when the Jags play, she trades the runway for game day. Emily and soon-to-be hubby Evan Ingram won the hearts of Jacksonville early on with their approachable personalities and philanthropic ties. But Emily has taken the local fashion scene by storm, sporting chic looks and the signature 17 that never ceases to shine.
All right, River City Live, it is no secret that we are always trying to level up the fashion game in the 904, and Emily has taken that mission very personally and single-handedly made sure that game day always looks like a runway. So, Emily, I'm so excited to be chatting with you again, and this has been a really exciting season for you.
It definitely has.
So, give me a recap. The last time I saw you about a year ago on River City Live, and you guys had recently moved to the area. I mean, I think you had just finished Fashion Week, so you had a lot on your plate, but you've had even more kind of pile on since then, but a lot of good things.
Yes, lots of campaign work as far as work goes, but with the team, Evan signed the longer deal and we bought a house here, so we're fully invested in Jacksonville and we're so happy to be here.
And we're so happy to have you. You've gained such a loyal and incredibly excited following, and they're always looking forward to what you're going to wear. Now, as a fashion model, obviously, we always get excited to see what you bring to that game day runway, so I thought we would go through some of your favorite looks of the season and see how you put them together.
Okay.
Okay, so obviously we have to start off with this iconic set. Now, you'll notice that there is always going to be a sparkly 17 that is emblazoned, and that's either bedazzled or bejeweled or glittered. So you have to tell me the story behind how this glam part of the signature look started to come about.
So I like to wear stuff that I would normally wear even if I wasn't at a game, but the 17, that's the whole reason why I'm there, and I just like adding a very feminine and sparkly element to all of my outfits. This, when I bought it, was as a set, so I knew that this was going to go together, but I obviously didn't have the 17 on it.
Right.
So whenever I was kind of figuring out, I kind of go based off of the Jags when they, like every Wednesday, they'll put out the team uniform, so I try my best to kind of mesh with what my man's gonna be wearing. I want to wear something similar.
Now, this one is a little bit more recent because obviously we're seeing the cold weather reflected. This was a special request actually from our newsroom because we had to learn more about the earmuffs. Now, again, we see that signature bedazzle on there.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So that was a last minute situation. So I was like, this jacket is so nice and I definitely want to wear it again, but I don't want to put a giant 17 on it if I want to wear it on a snow trip or something.
Right.
So I have to have the bedazzled 17 somewhere. And I had just got those earmuffs and then a white pair as well. And as I was packing my bag the morning of my flight, I was like just throwing stuff into my bag, and I threw my E6000 glue in there. And in the hotel room, as I'm getting ready, I was putting it on there and like put a book on it while I did my makeup, and it looks cute.
I love that. She's like, I came, I delivered, no matter what. We will travel, and we will travel with, what is the glue that we need?
E6000 glue.
E6000. Okay, now this was one of my favorites because it was so luxe and so glamorous. Obviously, we love like a faux fur moment, especially with the monochromatic pants that were matching.
The jacket I found during off-season, and I was like, I need it. I need to have it.
Right. You're like, I need to buy this in the middle of summer.
Right now. So I did, and I've been waiting all year to wear it.
They did. I mean, so just a whole, and this is just a snapshot. Like you've never missed a game. I mean, you're at every single game. We're always serving. It's always a great look. Now, I know that we've talked a lot about fashion, but now I want to kind of switch to talking about your family and how you've settled in here. You mentioned that you bought your second house here. How are you liking this area? When I saw you last, you said, hey, we'd really love to retire here.
Yeah.
So are you still feeling that way about Jacksonville?
That's still the plan. We just really love being able to be in a city environment, but also have the beach right there. Obviously, the fan base here makes it all the better because when we're out, it's not a swarming. Everybody's very normal and cool and just like, hey, Evan, what's up? Good game this weekend, or best of luck to you. And it's just everybody's so welcoming here. Everybody's so nice, and it's just really fun to be here and to live in that type of environment.
If you want to keep up with Emily and all the great looks she's putting together, make sure you get your Fashion Fast Pass by clicking follow on Instagram and TikTok.
Amazing, iconic, glamorous, perfection. That is what that was. Jared Angel, you did a phenomenal job. Emily Caro, I'm one of her biggest fans. She is perfect. She is amazing. Evan Ingram, you did such a great job because she is the star of that relationship. And I will say that with a period. That was amazing. I'm her biggest fan. We all are at News4Jax, by the way. Just want to point that out, Emily. But you have a big fan club here.
That was a fantastic interview. If you want to see that full interview with all their top looks, it'll be on River City Plus this Friday. All right, we've still got plenty more Teal to show. Coming up after this, we're going to take a few fan questions that they want to know as the Jaguars head into the offseason. So we'll have all those coming your way straight ahead on Teal to Show. All right, welcome back here into Teal the Show. I know Jaguars fans have a ton of questions as they head into the offseason, so we took to social media to get some of the top ones and see if we can kind of answer some of the big questions as the Jaguars roll into what is going to be a long offseason for the team.
Yeah, so I'll be Molly's. Who's going to be Stephen A? Let's get this rolling.
Every offseason is long when you don't make the tournament.
That's true.
Know?
That's very true.
Okay, first fan question. What are the 3 biggest concerns for the Jacksonville Jaguars?
3 biggest concerns, I'd say they got to fix center, guard, and interior defensive line. I mean, basically the interior of both lines is a problem for this team. Look, they got to get better. You got to win in the trenches. I know that's like the old football thing, you know, and nobody's ever excited when you draft a guard or an offensive lineman, period, but they've got to get better with the big guys.
Well, I'm with you. O-line, it showed because we have to protect our prize quarterback first and foremost. He was banged up all year. And it doesn't look good when you're, last game of the year and he's Friday, we don't know if he's playing. I would definitely go with the D-line, some depth. I feel like Mr. Hamilton needs a little bit of help right on that other side of him. I want one of those big 400-pound D tackles that are now starting to come out in the game. Maybe the guy number 21 from Florida.
Oh, get the big boy. That's right. He's taking up space. They call them space eaters, right? That's it.
Just a space eater. And then I feel like we can get some help in the secondary. Somebody that can play, I love what we have, but I feel like somebody in that nickel, everybody's out there, 3 wide receivers. Yeah. We have to have another guy that can cover and lock it down.
Next question, what are the off-season plans for the Jaguars? Obviously hiring a defense.
Well, you got to start there. I think they need a defensive coordinator that's going to steal some of that nasty. You play teams like the Steelers and the Ravens, and they got those nasty defenses. I feel like the Jaguars need just a little bit of that. So you got to start there. Then they got to rebuild that whole interior of the offensive line. I think they got to have a new center next year. You got to have a new left guard. The big question, and this one's hard for me, and I know we'll talk a little bit about it later, is what you do at left tackle, because I really like Anton Harrison. But on the defense, I'm going to get some big bodies, and they got to get a third pass rusher. Trayvon, Josh were fantastic, but, the more the merrier when it comes to the pass rush. They need a third guy.
Well, it could be an interior guy.
It could be an interior guy.
I feel like that helps with the run game as well.
Yeah.
When we get some push, get those guys about 1.5 yards back instead of looking at what we just saw where, the running back wasn't getting touched until 4 or 5 yards down the field,
right.
Sometimes 20. It was, we got to get a little more stout, get a little more physical on both sides. Because if you look at the best teams right now in the tournament, they all have a great O-line or a good D-line. Maybe not great, but there's a balance in there.
Opposite of what the Jaguars have. Next question. Here's a hot one that a lot of Jaguars fans want to know. Why is Trent Baalke the general manager?
Look, I think Trent gets a little bit of a bad rap here. Like, he took over a team that was flat out bad. And now they're not maybe where people hoped they would be a couple of years later, but they're respectable. They're an attractive target for teams or for players again, and they've had back-to-back winning seasons. He took over a team that had, ended up had nothing. And I know players say, or fans will ask, well, they don't have very many top 5 or top 10 at their position. They didn't have very many when he took over either. So while, yes, there have been things like the last couple of drafts haven't been great, and maybe are things that start to question whether or not he's the guy who can get them to the next level, I do think he's done a good job of stabilizing the franchise and getting them back into at least the respectability conversation.
There's a window in this game, and I feel like what he's brought here, we had the first pick 1 year. Mm-hmm. We had the first pick another year. Yeah. Last year with the suspension of Cam, I feel like we were forced to take a tackle. I feel like maybe he could have got a little better in the later rounds in the draft. Yeah. But right now I feel like we have to keep him because we do have a good thing going right now. When you look at the season, the games that we lost, did we really lose them except the San Fran game, or did we beat ourselves?
Right.
I mean, those mistakes we made last year when we were losing early, that came back this year. Yeah. I feel like we're still such a young team with certain positions that we just got to keep growing, and this whole offseason is about the mental approach.
Well, that's what Doug Peterson said, that they beat themselves more than they lost the game, by the way.
I agree.
And final question before we go to break. Are Doug, Trent, and Shad respected around the league?
I'd say they are. I'd say Doug Peterson's definitely very well liked. Trent has been there, done that, led to a successful run in San Francisco. I know a lot of people question how well liked he is. And Shad is an owner in the NFL. Look, you don't get to own a team if you're not well liked by the other owners. I mean, plain and simple.
I mean, what do you say as respect to me? That's the kind of question where, of course, he's a Super Bowl winner.
Yes.
So there's a pedigree. I think Mr. Khan, of course, because of what he's building around the city, we're bringing a lot of great free agents here because people want to come here and play for this great city. Mm-hmm. And I feel like you just got to grow together. We were first pick. I say this again, like we have to start from somewhere, and maybe we just had a growth spurt too early. Maybe we weren't ready for that yet, and maybe this is where we should be now. Because, I mean, if you think about it, last year we won a lot of good games, a lot of them we lost, but we still kind of played up and down. And we did it again with teams getting better.
Right.
So
maybe they weren't quite ready for those bright lights that were thrust upon them this year. All right, we still got a couple more fan questions that we're going to throw out there and try and answer the best we can when Teal the Show returns right after this quick break.
Welcome back to Teal Show, live at the Community First Igloo. Let's keep these questions going. Let's talk about the left tackle. Will Cam Robinson get cut this offseason?
Look, I think the Jaguars need to keep Cam because he brings like a tenacity to the team. I mean, he definitely brings some nastiness you like to see on the offensive line. The only reason I think it's worth a conversation is because if they move on from him, they could save a bunch of cap room. And Anton Harrison, I think, is really good and could be your left tackle of the future. I think this is more of a conversation of just how good could Anton be than if the Jaguars don't need Cam, because they definitely could use Cam. But I think Anton could be a star and lock down that left tackle for a long time.
I like veterans, though. Like to me, the leadership and, bringing what Cam brought for the last couple of years, even, just being hurt, being on the sideline, you always need those teachers. When I was here, we had Lagermans and we had Clyde Simmons. We had guys that were like glue of the locker room. Yeah. Because when you have all young guys, sometimes they haven't been through that fire like you need when you need somebody to like stand up in the middle of the team meeting room like, yo, calm down, let's do this.
I agree with you there. That's why I lean toward they need to keep Cam around, because you cannot sacrifice those sort of leaders in the locker room. That goes a long way. I know everybody always throws around, move on from this guy. Nah, that leadership means something off the field for every football team, and the Jaguars definitely have some big-time leaders. Hey, everybody at home, that's going to be our last Teal the Show of the year. We appreciate you hanging out with us all season long. I know the Jaguars season didn't end the way you wanted it to, but we're glad you decided to spend some of it with us here. Good night, everybody, and hopefully we'll see you next season.